everything can be a gang. You have a question? Yeah, to their policy, because now they can snatch it, they can grab it and document anybody, right? So then we have, again, subject has been seen displaying symbols or hand signs. We just went over that. Subject has been seen affiliating with documented gang members, right? So everybody in here right now is a documented gang member, so everybody is affiliated with documented gang members. Oh, yeah, another thing. Okay, my ex-girlfriend, who's black, right? Is black. Yeah, she's documented really important because of me, through my police officer, right? Well, now my ex-girlfriend. Last time I spoke to was now it's my ex-girlfriend now. Yeah, my new ex-girlfriend. That's like a couple of days ago. She's white. She's been with me on more police stops than by ex-girlfriend, black ex-girlfriend, but they didn't document it. She's white, right? There's 3,600 black documented gang members, I believe, in San Diego County. I believe there's 4,600 Hispanic documented gang members. There's 191 white. Minority groups are going to be deemed as gang. Because you got the gang conspiracy laws, you got the gang enhancements, you got all these kind of things that are hard to beat. There's no loopholes. You get the white groups, the supremacy groups, they're hate groups, they're hate crime. You look at the hate crime laws, the loopholes are about 50.
Well, gangs can be documented too, right? Like, you got a point in.
They're not considered gangs.
They're not considered gangs.
They're considered white people.
You got the skinheads.
There is one, like, yeah, go outside of like prison, so like, when they document that.
But they can't because then they could be labeled, fall into those
Like
criteria.
California can't be things like any like
White gang.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you got Lakeside skinheads.
They're gangs, like they don't call it people.
Peckerwood.
So they call gangs so that they can't call.
Yeah, so they don't fall into that criteria.
They look shit.
Oh, Scotty, oh,
Yeah, it's just,
Right.
people really don't frequent those.
I used to live in Bakersfield, and then up there is like, the whole community's all white gang.
Motorcycle group, you know, and they're a hate crime group, but now they're trying to pass a bill that are making the black and Latino motorcycle group gangs. I saw a hand, sorry, somebody,
According to this criteria, I'm probably a well-known documented gang member because I've lived in numerous gang communities in the 30-some-odd years I've lived in San Diego. I've lived since a young child. Basically, I get what you're saying. It makes sense. But
yeah. No, absolutely right.
if you've been documented, even though you beat the rap, you're still documented, are you not?
Yeah, and look at this, and they say if you go five, I'll get to you in just a second. They say if you go 5 years with no police contact, which is almost impossible. 5 years with no police contact, and this computer automatically kicks you out, right? So now you're not documented anymore, which is a lie, because my man Brandon went 6 years with no police contact, and they say the reason why he's still documented is because he was living out of state. Yeah. So
Also, you have to go 5 years in that state.
you have to go 5 years, I guess.
To get away from what they say is the gang. You leave the state, you start your family, and then because of that, you still are a gang member.
Because you left.
That's, wow.
The detectives went on the stand and basically said, testified to, the only way you could be undocumented is to go to prison for life, move away and never come back, or die. He testified to that and said that on court record, it's on court record, that he said that is the only way you could possibly change your life, become teacher, lawyer,
So those little nine-year-olds are pretty much.
yeah. For the rest of their life, they'll be documented gang members because of the setback.
No, they won't. And the reason why I say they won't is
We're gonna do something about it.
Yeah.
I am going to, I was just really, before all this, man, I was just gonna be a real estate agent. My goal, my best friend, actually, he's studying to become an orthodontist at UC Davis right now, so he's in med school. He's probably documented because of me. He's ready to drop out of school and move, because he's so scared, because they could have went, well, not anymore now, because the case is over with to a certain extent, but they could have put him on our case, right? So, I was gonna be a real estate agent, he was gonna be a doctor, I was gonna buy his practice buildings, and we just had this whole nice little get rich scheme. Well, not scheme, but, prosperous thing, and then, now I'm here. So, we're gonna get rid of 182.5, that's gonna get erased off the books. We're gonna amend so much stuff in Proposition 21, we're gonna have to erase that too. Then we're gonna attack this. I'm not speaking in numerical order, but then we're gonna get rid of this. You're gonna have to document real gang members. I'm not against documenting a gang member, or if a person does a crime and he do the time, no problem. Like, you know what you signed up for, so hey.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say, so there's a number of different issues, right, that are going on kind of with this law. One of them is that you have these laws that are disproportionately kind of impacting African American and Latinos, right? You all just happen to be the flavor of the day, that they literally said they were gonna test it out
Yes.
on you so they could start rounding everybody else. Thank God that beginning part has been changed. Then you have this crazy thing that you can make somebody a gang member, just, it's kind of like spin the wheel and, all right, you're a gang member. But I think the larger question also is this, is why should a person who is a gang member, right, be charged with anything different than anybody else that has committed that same crime, right? So a white fraternity boy who sells drugs should get the same amount of time as an African-American guy who grew up and was raised in Lincoln Park, right? Why is it different? Nowadays, you can actually get paid money legally for selling drugs, whereas the dude's still getting pulled over and arrested in Lincoln Park. But I think it's also important for us to look at that whole even concept of what is wrong. It's not illegal in the United States to be a gang member.
Membership is not there.
That's right, and just the fact that they don't document white people as a gang, even though they're committing the same crimes, doing the same everything as a thing, shows that this really is a racial issue, right? And even labeling somebody as a gang member is a racial issue, so we can create the ugly, scary boogeyman in our mind that it's okay to hang them, which is the same thing they used to do with regular old African Americans before. Instead of calling them gang members, they would call them niggers before hanging them on trees.
Exactly.
So all of these things that are super important, but I think we also need to look at how we are told and how people are kind of criminalized and dehumanized under this title of gang members, right?
Gang members, the new black.
That's right. Gang members is
Gang
black.
members, the new black. That's what they say. Yeah. Instead of saying gang members, black.
I was just curious, side fact, okay, so what if you've had numerous relationships, okay? As men sometimes do. Does that mean that everyone you were involved with, say from the age of 14 years old up until current day, if you say they're a little bit old, maybe during your 40s or 50s, that every one of those has also been documented as associated with gang members? And then your children also?
My uncle, probably because I wasn't born, so I don't think you guys were born, was involved in the case, police murder, back in the 80s, right? They were acquitted, like 12 years later. Police have admitted, like me, my brothers, his son, that they come after us because of what happened in the 80s. I wasn't even born when it happened, so.
So your profile is, are you doing anything about it?
Relate to that because my sister was going out with a gang member, and I was walking home from school, and I like and she was with her boyfriend at the time, and he was documented like as a crazy, like when you were living in Spain or whatever. And so I leave her and I go walk home, and the cop stops me, and I'm like, yo, I'm just trying to go home and watch TV. And they're like, oh, you're associated with the gang because of your sister, and I'm like, I mean, I ended up being arrested because I was associated with the crime because of my sister. And now I'm taking time for something that I was like, I don't know what the hell's going on. I'm just trying to go home. And like, I get arrested and I'm like writing my journal and I write like a broken heart sign. And they have me documented as like a insider or whatever. And I read like a little broken heart sign and they're telling me like, oh, that's Logan 13. I'm like, I'm documented from inside. You know, so I'm just like, a lot of my association is like fucked up because now that I'm trying to get a career, it stops because I was associated with people like that.
That's why I say, like, me, Brandon, these 33 people on this case, we are not a special case. We're just first case. And we were gonna set the tone for everybody else, but there are thousands and millions of people who are going through the same thing we're going through in this city and throughout the nation. It's just, we have to start speaking up. And you know what? I'm guilty of this too. There's no way in the world I should have been stopped by the police this many times. I've never filed a complaint. And no excuse, but the reason why I never filed a complaint is I was pulled over one time. The police officer told me, we're gonna search this car legally or illegally. So, short call, how you wanna do it? Yeah, you've heard that before too. I told him, well, I'm not gonna, you know, you're the police, I can't stop you from doing what you're gonna do, but I'm not sitting to the search. They snatched me out my window, right? Throw me on the ground, kind of, you know, rough me up a bit, throw me in the back of the police car. And they just let me go, right? So I told him I was gonna file a complaint. He said, no problem, go ahead, file a complaint, but you have to see me tomorrow. So, like, who's gonna file a complaint? You got to leave, because I do have to see this man tomorrow. He can do whatever he wants, you know, so I never filed a complaint, but we can't. That fear had me facing 56 years of life. You know what I mean? So we have to start filing complaints because we say, well, what is a complaint going to do? You know, what it does is it goes in this man's file. So he harassed you, he harassed you, he harassed you, and it's all in his file. So when it comes time for promotions, he doesn't get them. And then he might just harass just one too many people, and now he's fired. You know? So we can, they say they want to eradicate gang, we can eradicate that gang. You know what I mean? So we have to take proper steps. You know, you got to beat them with the pen, because they're beating us with the pen, with the balls and things like that. My brother.
Yeah, first of all, thank you for coming and speaking. So I teach Chicano history, and it's just really interesting to me because there's this really landmark situation in Chicano history that is considered one of the early beginnings of the Chicano civil rights movement, and it was called the Sleepy Lagoon case. And it was 1942 in Los Angeles where there was a gang killing, and a whole collection of youth, 21 Mexican-American youth, were put on trial, even though they had no direct connection to the case. And it was just, you know, racism was basically the charge, you know, being Mexican. So it's almost exactly like this, but this is what, 75 years later. And so I think it's disgusting that this kind of racism persists. And I also wanted to point out that in San Diego, I mean, and this is a question as well. In San Diego, it seems like there's this kind of revolt of the people in power, like Bonnie Dumanis, against public opinion and public sentiment, which is shifting against the criminalization of youth, and especially African American youth. So we see Operation Lemon Drop, this kind of. We see these various things being tested out here that are just really, you know, what I feel was the advanced sort of blade of, you know, the advanced army of you know, pushing back against civil rights, you know, and fundamentally. And so like, and then on the other hand, we see the increased sort of the increased visibility of police brutality and police killings across the country. So in many ways, we're stepping way back, or at least people in power are stepping way back on the question of civil rights. On the other hand, we're seeing communities organize. So what the people in Ferguson did and are doing has made this, what otherwise would have been just another killing by a cop, another sort of factor of life for the black community. They made it an international issue. They basically made this an issue, and people around the country seem to be organizing, right? Even in the face of such continued violence, pushback. So it seemed. So I guess my question is like, how do we bring this all together here in San Diego? Because if this is really trying to be if these people are trying to build their careers on pushing back and trying these new test methods for criminalization and how do we begin to bring this fight together?
Well, one, we have to be in agreement with one another, right? So, the Bible says two men can't walk together unless they are in agreement, right? But I think we twist that and think that we have to be in agreement with everything, right? But we just have to come together on one issue. We all know this is wrong. So we agree on that. We don't have to agree on anything else. But we agree on this. And we got to put egos to the side. We got to put everything else to the side. These are the people, these are the lives we're talking about. These aren't pawns in a chess game. These aren't just numbers or statistics, things in that nature. So if you can get, because the black population, I believe, is like less than 4% or 4% in San Diego. I think half of that is incarcerated. So we can't do it alone, So you're going to need us, and that's why I said it's not a black issue, it's a people issue. We got to come together just as people, egos to the side, and attack this problem on multiple fronts. I see there's like a billion different organizations in San Diego, which is fine. But I believe those organizations, at least one representative per organization, needs to be able to meet with other organizations, like a little council meeting in a sense, come together, be on one accord, and attack. Because if Bonnie Dumanis, Chief Zimmerman, the mayor, whoever, is being attacked on multiple different fronts by multiple different people who are on the same accord, the powers that be are a small percentage. We have the numbers. And the thing is it's like even during slavery. How could you have 1,500 slaves and 3 people being like, but it was the conformity of the mind. They felt like, okay, these 3 people have the power to make the masses do this because it was a psychological thing. But really, the numbers is what control and what run, and the government works for us. We don't work for the government.
And there's also there's also some organizations even on campus that are in the process of doing that. And I think student-led movements, if you look throughout history, are normally the movements that actually have some type of effect. And so the Pillars of the Community Scholars Society, which Maria is the co-chair, is very invested in issues that deal with the criminal justice system and supporting people that have been formerly incarcerated on campus. The Umoja Club also, which Tony is the president of, also does a lot of work on campus. So there's even things on campus. Moving forward, like you mentioned, Operation Lemon Drop, I know one of the things that we're going to be working on is training people to actually be able to report, record, and be a part of some of these, when you're at a trolley stop and you see the police who are coming out there and hassling people just for no reason. So there's actually, we can begin to collect information on it and actually have some action, MDS, that's the closest thing to kind of the bus boycotts that we had with Rosa Parks and all of these types of things. But you really need to create ways and systems to be able to work through those issues. So there are some organizations on campus that are connected to some of these larger programs also.
Yeah, and I encourage, join something on campus. Or if not even, you don't even necessarily have to join an organization, but at least somehow assist in that movement. Every one person is just important as the next. And if you just sit around and just wait for things to kind of happen, it's never going to happen. And speaking of the movement, the civil rights movement, yeah, you have Martin Luther King and all the other guys, but those were all college students who did that. so the idea of college students just going to class and partying or whatever, that's new. Like, the generation that made the change and made things happen were us, you know, and that's why on these cases, we got 33 black men, I believe only 2 or 3 of them are in their mid-30s. Everybody's from the age of 18 to 26. Why is that? You know, those are the politicians, the lawyers, those are the doctors. I'm talking too much. I know.
It's good, it's good.
But, yeah,
Let's wrap it up with one more question.
And there-
Okay, 2 more questions, and then we'll have it up.
Actually,
10:40.
just had a, just want to make sure I wasn't making my own so we just scored what I think is a major victory in the judge going out in capitalizing on that victory. I'm just curious to hear from you. What do you think was the decisive factor in that? Was it just a sympathetic judge? Was it great counsel? Was it the folks who were mobilized down the county? What do you think? So the idea is to replicate that.
I think it was all a collection of one. When you put pressure on the powers that be, you mess with their money, the elections and all that kind of stuff, they think twice. On the judge's part, I think it was mainly kind of just like having conscience and common sense. These 9 shootings, nobody's in jail. Nobody's been charged. These are unsolved crimes. Technically, the DA doesn't even know where these shootings came from. It could have came from any neighborhood. So it's a little bit of everything. Clergy members getting involved, us doing rallies, you see young people out. Because young people, you know, sometimes we don't have that sense. So we're unpredictable. You don't know what the young people are going to do. You know what I mean? So I think it was a collection.
So my question is, I'm not really sure what the news tells, I just remember reading a few articles or, you know, or what the music said or whatnot. But to me, I think of these rappers that we have them, you know, Lil Wayne and Rick Ross, and they talk about violence and they talk about shooting and drugs and mollies and all this really stupid shit, but I don't ever see them being, you know, no one ever goes after them and they have big money. So how do you get a profitable, you know, someone or
It wasn't touched, yeah, because, I mean, they don't want those type of lawyers on this type of case, because they know it's BS from the beginning. And if you bring the right type of attorneys in, it's like, you know, shut it down fast, so they're not gonna ever attack nobody like that.
So that leads me to my second question, because when you look at this kind of things like City Heights and Lincoln Park, you know, anywhere that way, a lot of these families don't have money. A lot of them are putting up their houses, you know, to get some kind of money to put on, you know, their family to, you know, have good counsel. So how do you guys,
I mean, family,
family,
you know, works on split up. For the most part, the family, you know, come together and help out. And then I've dealt with my lawyer before, so he was kind of like, he like a family friend at the same time. So he was willing to help out too, so like, you know, take a little bit of it. But yeah, that's why, you know, they attack us because they know the money's not.
Even to resolution, I think, to that problem is taxpaying citizens, right? We pay for the district attorney's budget, and we pay for the public defender's budget, right? But the district attorney's budget, I believe, is like 2-point-something%. And the public defender's budget is 0.7. So we pay, as taxpayers, pay more money to be prosecuted than we do to be defended. So we need to find out a way. I don't know the way. That's why I'm going to law school in Paul. You know, we have to find a way where not even to find this money and pull it to the public defender's office, but let's just take the money from the district attorney's office and just even out the playing field. Because if anything, we should be paying more money to get defended. You know, but if they won't even do that, we need to find a way to just make it easier. I mean, an even playing field, so then it can really be a fair fight. You know. And we gotta stop taking deals. We gotta stop pleading out. They offered me Brandon probation. We could have been out of this a long time ago. You know, but
Probation and
it would have felony. It would have been a felony, a strike, and I'll have to register as a gang member. Right? It would have been a gang-related shooting at an inhabited dwelling or something. So I would never been able to get a job.
I think this, that I've been around for a long time. And one of the things, one of the reasons that the civil rights movement was successful was because there was media coverage. If there had been no media there, they would have just been hung and lynched like they had, the way the Southern blacks had been controlled up until that point, and even in the Midwest and all over the country. The other thing that, I was in the Black Panther Party in 1969, and the Black Panther Party figured out some innovative tactics to make known what was happening with police brutality in Oakland. Namely, they managed to be present when anybody was stopped and arrested, or to make a presence, and to tell a person their rights, and to pretty much stop the police in their tracks. But by doing it, they got a whole lot of publicity. And they got destroyed because they were seen as too much of a threat, and they were labeled as the biggest threat to the whole country. And so I think that with a movement, we need to have solidarity amongst groups, because it's not just a black movement, but we also, and we need to use the law, and we need to change the law, but we also in the process have to figure out how to use the media in all of its forms to do actions that, maybe something interesting for them to even come out and be there. There's no media here today, I don't know if we invited them, but frequently they don't show or they don't report. The other thing I wanted to mention is the brother back there who teaches Chicano studies. All of those Mexican kids or Mexican American kids who got arrested around those gang killings, they got arrested because of the clothes they wore. They were Mexican, well, because they were Mexican and they wore those clothes. Malcolm X wore the same clothes, because that was what was cool in the 1940s. Yeah. So it's the same thing, and it's guilt. This also was used against anybody who was a progressive person, a socialist, or a communist who really wanted to change this country in the 40s and the 50s, and it was guilt by association. And that was one of the darkest times in the history of the United States. It was the early 1950s where they had this committee going all around the country, labeling people as communists or fellow travelers, including Lucille Ball. And so they were just going after everybody to make them scared, and that's what this was for. Final point is, I think you started out talking about how people are getting out of incarceration now because of our recent law, and that some of this you think is in response to the money that was getting piped into, continues to be piped into the prison industrial complex, right? And so that's a whole other side that we can't lose sight of, is that they're trying to use us to make money off of us.
Real quick, before we take one more question, because we are out of here in about 10 minutes, so if everyone could just look down on your floor, make sure you don't have any paper or anything around, so we can all just clean up, and that way we have 10 more minutes.
Because they'll say there's a bunch of gang members trash B101.
There's another class coming at 11:10, and so we want to be able to, whenever we want to have a talk, so we want to be able to do this. So thank you very much.
So I might realize that do you guys get stopped? Do they notice your clothing? Do you get stopped?
Oh, yeah. Well, Duckins, I pretty much wear Duckins. We wear Duckins because my brother
Yeah.
is,
But do they think of it they're stopping me as gang members?
Oh,
Do they
yeah.
think of
Just
it
off
like
of what
that?
you wear, yeah, of course.
Because it's not a bad brand, and it's pretty cool because you guys are repping the brand, reaching out to the community, so, I think I found that.
they'll make Duckins a thing.
They'll be labeled, like a Lincoln Park thing, all day, where it is.
Yeah.
No, he did.
Yeah, how do I know, or everyone here, how can we figure out if we've been documented in any gang or any way?
See, since they don't have to tell you, right?
Yeah.
And you have to go down either to your police police station in your neighborhood or to this police station and ask, right? But see, again, I don't want to discourage you guys from doing that, but let's say you're not a documented gang member, right? And you go in there and ask, am I a documented gang member? And they're gonna be like, well, why is this kid asking? And then they might, now your name is across somebody's desk. Now it's going on your Facebook. Let's see.
They're gonna say, wait a second, do you know Aaron Hartley and Brian?
Right, you know, so they might just, and I don't know if they're gonna do that, but, you know, I'm just so distrustful of the police that that's what they would do. Okay, well, give me your name. Yeah, oh, and what neighborhood do you stay in? Let me see. Now they're getting your information. They go on your Facebook. Now they put your name in the system to the police officers, and they will look for you in your neighborhood. Now they got the document. So it's kind of like a catch-22 in a way. Like, you know.
Well, I'm not, because,
Maybe-
no, I just feel unsafe now. Like, what if I'm documented right now? And okay, so I'm not gonna go because I don't want to risk. I don't want
See,
to.
that's what they need. But see, under the, and this is how they get away with it. Under the public privacy is the Privacy Information Act or something like that. See, they can't put that out there because it falls. See, they make the laws. But see, that's why we need to do this, and this is why I'm going to law school. I'm not going to law school to be an attorney and represent people in court. I'm going to law school so I can be sitting down at that table when laws like 182.5 are being written up and developed and trying to get pushed through. I'm there to say, no, y'all not doing that to my people. You know what I mean? Right? So, what we have to do is we have to take off the negative influence that we put on each other and our younger people of being police officers. We need more minority police officers. We need more minority district attorneys. We need more, you know, because you can't, this system, you're not going to be able to fight it like this. You can't do it. Look, it's been tried and they won't, they annihilate you, right? But if you get put in their position, if you're in the same job as them, then you can make an influence and change that way instead of fighting fire with fire, just beat them at their own game. Become them. But just do it